What's up, guys? John here. It is snowing in Louisiana. It is snowing in Mississippi, in Biloxi Beach, and it is snowing inside of Florida.
Snow has already started to pile up for many people in Louisiana.
This is the road. This is Pops Ferry Road, and it's kind of slushy.
Welcome to snowy Florida, the Sunshine State being hit with a historic snowstorm. This is video from Pensacola.
But the real storm is hitting the landlords and property owners inside of Los Angeles County. I believe we're walking into what will likely be the greatest real estate investing opportunity that we will ever see inside of California. But before that happens, we're going to see millions of people losing their properties. We're going to start to see a ton of banks facing significant headwinds as these properties default. It's a big issue. It's a very, very big issue. But if you're a smart and savvy real estate investor, it's a big opportunity. Because when are the best times to invest? Well, when there's blood in the streets, when there's a lot of pain. In 2021, in 2022, everyone wanted to be a landlord. Everyone wanted to invest in real estate. But now that appeal is slowly fading away. A lot less people want to be landlords today with high interest rates, high insurance, high taxes, and landlords getting punished with radical new policies and laws.
New rules go into effect that will shake up the way homes are bought and sold across the U.S.
For example, Gavin Newsom, January 17th, he bans evictions.
New action from Governor Newsom to ban evictions based on hosting fire survivors.
And they're working on a new bill, and they're saying, even throwing timelines out like January 1st, 2030, with restrictions that are going to be hitting not just rent control units, but single family, 1 to 4 unit apartments all throughout the city. They're throwing out some pretty crazy ideas of how they're going to combat this housing crisis. Now in this video, I'm going to break it down and show you exactly what's going on. If you're investing in California, listen up. If you're not, you should pay very close attention, because I think a lot of these policies are going to be kind of thrown out throughout the country in different states. I'm hoping that, with this new change in political direction, we're going to start to see more landlord rights, and we're going to start to see more of a favorable business environment. Now, time will tell. I really hope that does happen. But in the event that it does or does not, the more information we all have, the better of a decision we can all make. And I think we're going to start to see some really, really big opportunities one way or the other in real estate. Please hit the like button when you do. YouTube will share the content, educate more people about what's going on in our real estate market and in our economy. And if you're interested in fixing your credit to position yourself to acquire 1 to 4 unit residential property, we'd love to help you. If you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, or any derogatory or negative items in your credit report, go to greatcreditfast.com and click the link in the description just below this video. If you're interested in learning about what I'm doing in Cleveland, Ohio, and investing in what I think is going to be a major, major market over the coming couple of years as we walk into this affordability crisis migration pattern that's coming, we'd love to help you, at least have a conversation with you. If you have $100,000 or more that you're thinking about investing, go to singlefamilyinvestors.com. That's singlefamilyinvestors.com. Click the link in the description just below. Schedule a free call. Take a look at this. So this is pretty wild. So right now, rents are actually falling in East LA. Now in West LA, if you're in Beverly Hills, you're in Bel Air, you're Sunset Strip, you're one of these markets, you're seeing, rents skyrocketing because people that have lost their homes in the Palisades, Brentwood, Malibu, and these areas, they need a place to live, they need a place close by, and landlords have a lot of power because there's a lot more people seeking housing than there is available housing, right? So rents are going up, but not in most locations in Los Angeles. Now, you have vacancy rates in East LA, essentially climbing. But look at this. This came out 6 days ago. Sources matter. So legalinfo.legislator.ca.gov, and the other was ca or gov.ca.gov. And what they're saying here is they say existing law, the Costa-Hawkins Rental Act, among other things, authorizes an owner of residential real property to establish initial and subsequent rental rates for a dwelling or unit that meets specified conditions. So landlord can choose what the market will bear, but certain exemptions. Existing law until January 1st, 2030 prohibits an owner of residential real property from, over the course of any 12-month period, increasing the gross rental rate as specified for a dwelling or a unit more than 5% 5% of the cost of living, or 10%, whichever is lower. So when you look at what's going on right now with home insurance, how can you put a 5% cap on rent? How? Really? I mean, it would be great if you could, but when you have auto insurance going up 54%, you have home insurance up 25.9%. If rents can only go up 5%, borrowing costs, mortgage rates went from 3.5% to 7.5%. Taxes are going up. Cost to manage and service these properties going up. Insurance going up. How can rent stay at a 5% increase? They can't, unless you own the property outright. If you own the property outright, maybe this doesn't really faze you. If you have 10, 20, 30% debt on the building, maybe it doesn't faze you. But if you bought it at a 4 cap in 2021 with a 3.5% interest rate, and now you got to refinance at a 7% rate, in this insurance environment, with these laws, it's over, right? A lot of landlords are going through that right now. Like, a lot of landlords are being leveraged. But if you just look at the trends, look at Sam Zell, Equity Residential, Equity Office. He's one of the, I would argue, one of the smartest, most savviest real estate investors of our generation. He passed away last year, but he developed the nickname, the Grave Dancer. Why? When he graduated law school in Chicago, he wanted to, he worked for a property management company. He wanted to invest in real estate. The market was hot. He's like, you know what? No, I'm not going to invest right now. I'm going to wait. And he raised money, and they waited. And then the market crashed. About a year later, he stepped in and acquired tons of deals. And he got that nickname, the Grave Dancer, because he was dancing on the graves of real estate investors who were over leveraged. And I think the same thing is going to happen in Los Angeles right now. I think we're going to start to see a lot of really big changes coming. And now some people, they want to take the position and say, look, 5% rent cap, that's a good thing. We have an affordability crisis. We need to bring costs down. You have to ask yourself, though, when you have East LA and a lot of places in LA, these are mom and pop. These are mom and pop property owners. They own a restaurant, a laundromat, they have a car deal or a auto mechanic shop. Like, they have a duplex, a triplex, a fourplex. If they have debt and expenses that they can't push on to the tenant, well, they're going to go out of business. And who's going to buy it? It's probably going to be a corporation. It's probably going to be a big investor. And is that big investor going to care more or less about the tenant than the mom and pop? I would argue less, right? I'd argue the mom and pop genuinely cares about the tenant. They take care of the tenant. They have a long relationship with that tenant. An institutional investor doesn't care. They don't care about that tenant, one iota. But let's look. I've read all this, but I'm going to summarize this last part because I think this is fascinating. They say for housing rented within 1 year prior to the time of the proclamation or declaration of emergency, the actual rental price paid by the tenant for housing not rented at the time of declaration or proclamation but rented or offered for rent within 1 year of the proclamation or declaration of emergency, the most recent rental price offered before. So basically, if you have a previous tenant that was paying, let's call it $1,000 or $1,500 a month in rent, they move out, you're not able to bring that unit to market rate. You would have to keep it at what that former tenant was paying. So a lot of people, a lot of landlords are going to say, look, this is only for a year. Now they have the option to extend it, and the options to extend it are earthquake, flood, fire, riot, storm, drought, plant or animal infestation, disease, pandemic, epidemic, or natural or man-made disasters. So these are some of the reasons in which they can extend it up until basically 2030. This is a 12-month lockup period starting once this gets signed into effect, and they could continue to extend it, right? So if you were a landlord and you had a $1,000, $1,500 a month rental, would you bring it to market back at that $1,000 or $1,500 rent, or would you leave it vacant and wait and hope this thing expires and then list it at $2,500? You'd probably hold off and you list it for $2,500 because you don't want to have a tenant that's going to pay $1,000 or $1,500 that's going to stay there for 5 or 10 years, and you're unable to survive because your insurance and taxes and everything's just continuing to increase. You won't be able to make it. So you're just going to try to weather the storm. Now, what I think is going to happen is I think we're going to see a lot of landlords pulling their units off the market. Then, I was searching on Google here, and I just said, how many vacant apartments in Los Angeles? And I scrolled down, and January 7th, 2025, UCLA put out this article talking about too many vacant homes. I'm like, okay, let's read what UCLA is suggesting, because UCLA, they're putting out information that they want us to read. They say, what should be done about vacant housing? When we talk about vacancies, we must be clear what kind we're referring to. Market vacancies, units that are for rent or for sale, are inevitable, and in moderate quantities, they're a sign of a healthy housing market. Many examples, including in Los Angeles County, point to higher vacancies being associated with greater tenant power and lower rents. LA could benefit from more housing options and a reduction in landlord power. Now, I think looking at landlords as the problem is not the solution. I think we should be looking at landlords and developers as the solution, not big government. Landlords and developers will go out there and supply housing units. Big government will offer housing units to the homeless for $600,000, $700,000, $800,000, $900,000 or $1 million per unit. Whereas if you were to incentivize developers and landlords to offer housing versus penalize them, I think we would see a different housing market in Los Angeles. And when they come here, what they said is that they want to tax vacant homes. That's what they say. They say it may turn out that off-market vacancy is less common than many can imagine, but we don't know if we can't measure them. A tax on vacant homes may also be a welcome change. Taxing vacant homes implicitly acknowledges the supply of homes has an influence on housing affordability. So if you're a business owner and let's say you spend some time in New York City, some in LA, and you have a home in Los Angeles, just because it's vacant, they want to tax you. And they've thrown numbers out, about 1% of the home value. So if you have a $2 million home paying $20,000 a year just to let that house sit, it's pretty crazy, right? It's pretty radical. They have the same thing that they were pushing in San Francisco, and then that got thrown out. Judge strikes down SF's empty homes tax after property owners sued. Judge strikes down San Francisco empty homes tax. But now I share this information because I think the more information we have, the more educated we are. The more educated we are, the smarter and well-informed decisions we can make. Now, I love real estate investing. I love California. I think California is going in a direction that's not beneficial for the people. It's not beneficial for business owners, and it's not beneficial for the people that are creating jobs. And I think this all needs to, we all need to work together, landlords and tenants, policymakers, to find a solution. The more chaotic this gets, the worse it's going to get for the bottom 95%. And I'm hoping there's going to be some change here. But if it doesn't happen, we're going to see a lot of people leaving California, and they're going to be going to other locations. They're going to be migrating. In 2020 and 2021, San Francisco, Los Angeles, New York City saw tons of people moving to Austin, to Nashville. They were moving to Miami. And why? There's freedom there, right? There's property freedom. There was no income tax. People were able to go out there and do what they wanted to do. They could live their lives normally. Well, now I think this next trend is going to be affordability migration. Retirees, people working remote, 35% of the US population is working remote. Everything is going to be about affordability the next couple of years. Everyone's going to be trying to hold on to what they have. And they're not going to be making these speculative bets like they were a couple of years ago. That's my bet. What do you think about this entire situation? Now, I think we could see a major change in our economy and our worlds, in the next year or two. I don't know what's going to happen here in California or there in California, but I think we could see some major shifts, major changes. But I think it's just going to benefit those that are entrepreneurial, those that are ambitious, those that are really going out there getting it. Those are going to be the ones that are going to benefit. I don't think there's just going to be one change that's just going to benefit everybody equally. I think it's going to be the rich are going to get richer, and the more information we all have, the more information that we apply, I think the more likely it is that everyone's going to create wealth for themselves and their family. Let's have a conversation about this below. And if you'd like to fix your credit, we'd love to help you at my company, GreatCreditFast.com. That's GreatCreditFast.com. If you have late payments, medical bills, charge-offs, foreclosures, bankruptcies, repossessions, or any derogatory or negative items on your credit report, go to GreatCreditFast.com. And if you'd like to learn what I'm doing in Cleveland, Ohio, and have at least $100,000 or more that you're thinking about investing, go to SingleFamilyInvestors.com. That's SingleFamilyInvestors.com. Click the link in the description just below. Schedule a free call, and I'll catch you next video.